All right, click the links to join the channel here over at SubScribe. The various other links. Thinking about this Elijah Schaefer and the mountains of Bolivian marching powder, thinking, I could use a little bit of that to get some pep in my step. So a shocking scandal rocks the trad right. So, no, the right wing in general isn't a grift. That's not a fair assessment because the 99.9% of the people on the right are just good, normal, moral, mostly Christian people. It's the influencers are horrible people. They're the grifters. People who want to be social media influencers are the worst people on earth. Even worse now because they monetize Twitter with the most pointless, painfully cringe engagement bait where they find a good tweet and they retweet it every 4 months because it's money in their pocket. And so you really can't tell these people, hey, this is cringe as hell. It was a good tweet when you did it once, but they look at it and go like, yeah, but it's another $3,000 a year that adds to the Twitter money. And it's like, well, that's on Twitter. That's Twitter's problem with that kind of stuff. They should not monetize engagement bait kind of tweets. So the thing is, notice that there's no sex scandals on the alt left because they don't pretend to have standards. Like Destiny and who's the young Turk girl, Anna Kasparian. If something comes out about them, it's like, well, big deal. The guy already admits to doing a mountain of stimulants and having sex with both genders, anything that moves. It's like, how do you make a scandal out of that? Or if Anna Kasparian is cheating on her husband, it's like, oh, well, we just have an open relationship or something. It's like, oh, well, yeah, there's nothing on the left. The left wing has normalized almost every aspect of Weimar, except for that last one, which is we're getting very close to that last one. So they don't pretend to have standards. They think men are women. Some bearded dude in a dress with lipstick. It's like, well, that's a beautiful woman. What are you talking about? Some cop just asked some guy if he was a woman or not, and the crowd suddenly got distracted to saying, why would you ask a woman that? Like, can we just stop with this? You're 6'2" with a beard. The thing is, the left has sex with anyone that moves, and while they're filthy degenerates, at least they're open about it. Where the milquetoast corporate right has a lot going on behind the scenes that the people who are kind of watching this stuff are not aware of or don't want to be aware of. The corporate right is like the post-millennial. I think that's Hoft. And then Gateway Pundit is Hoffman, who's, I believe, married to an Asian man. So he's, and then what's the other one? Ezra Levin, who like they do the same. Ezra Levin is so dirty. He runs the Rebel Canadian thing, and they always they want to get your emails. They are desperate to get your emails because emails are worth money to them. To sell the email list is one thing, but also to keep hitting you up for money. So they go, sign our petition or vote on something. He does this all the time in that smarmy little voice of his. And it's just to get your email. Like, don't give any of these people your email, anything, or get like a temporary Proton email. So there's a lot going on behind the scenes, and it involves a lot of white powder and lube and nudity. So the short version of this, the précis, is stay sober, don't cheat on your spouse at least. Like what people do with their boyfriends or girlfriends is negotiable morals until you actually get a ring on the finger. I've heard that. But the other thing is, like, keep your private life private from everyone and stay away from known scorpions like Milo Yiannopoulos, who is a evil scorpion. And honestly, I probably wouldn't say this if I had a bigger channel because he's a evil, vindictive guy. First of all, some of the things in this article are kind of from a normie perspective. I said bundles of sticks in there. Milo and Nick Fuentes, who's on Rumble and Cozy, are not white nationalists. That is, well, developmentally disabled. Fuentes is a Christian nationalist. That's a big difference. And Milo is a cocaine-addicted person. Fuentes doesn't have ethno-nationalist beliefs or identify even as a pure European American, which would be required to be a ethno-nationalist of that ethnicity. So the media is lying to you, as the media always lies. And if people knew how much the mainstream media lied to you, I mean, there would be no more mainstream media. It would just like you'd accept that, oh, this is the Inquirer. level of media. So the globalist media, the thing is with the corporate media, like the Gateway Pundit, Post Millennial, the Blaze, the Rebel, that kind of stuff. And then I was going for a walk the other night, and it's like I was going through of a dozen of these kind of controlled ops media. There was no real, nothing in the mainstream was actually real. There's like information liberation, but that's not allowed on the mainstream. The media sites that don't get advertising, the Andrew Anglin's Daily Stormer, which is, I guess, roughly a media site, sort of more like a comedy site. But the information liberation is a right of center media site, and they don't get advertising. They're not controlled because they say things that are not politically correct, and where the Ezra Levin and Hoffman are very, very cautious about controlling the right wing narrative as much as possible, and making sure that money for Israel never gets interrupted. That's why they run Gateway Pundit, Post Millennial, Rebel, and all these other kind of stuff. They want to keep the MAGA normies very friendly with sending taxpayer dollars to their country overseas. So the globalist media has a certain framework to maintain, and they can't allow people out of the box. This narrative has to be anti-white hatred, and even the controlled ops right-wing media still has that focus. Where if you notice, will they name the bad guys who were involved in some kind of crime? Will they name the ethnicities of these groups? And those Gateway Pundit, Post Millennials, you can go through and read them and notice their bias, like the things they don't say, and they're almost as bad as the mainstream left-wing media. Like, mainstream media is left-wing, but this right-wing con ops media is not right-wing. It's this corporate MAGA type of Shapiro with Daily Wire, I think. So they have they can't let people out of the box. They don't want to take any attention against their narrative. Like the Shapiros will use, like, call Karens and talk about crazy white liberal women. And I was thinking about that the other night, because none of that makes sense, because white women in America vote right, further right than the next demographic is Latin American women, and then black women, and then Asian women. White women in America are further right than any other demographic. So when every once in a while you get a nutcase like that woman in Minneapolis or whatever, those are but the magic of per capita, it's these other ethnicities that are further left. But even the in quotes right wing, Daily Shapiros and Levies and Hoffmans, they keep this focus on white women. You go, this doesn't make sense. It's actually, black and Mexican and Asian women who per cap are the ones who are pushing things to the left. But so that controlled ops media is also subtly anti-white. Where even Ben Shapiro made some movie with Gina Carano, which I didn't see, but I can go watch it tonight if you want. But I would write notes before I watched it to tell you who the protagonists and antagonists are. And I'm willing to bet you a graphic novel that I'm correct on what the antagonists look like. How do I know this? Because I know Ben Shapiro. So they gotta maintain this anti-white narrative. So they tie themselves in knots to frame something as ridiculous as a black guy criticizing Jews or Israel, and they somehow have to reframe it as, oh, these are white supremacist talking points. You go, well, there's no white people involved in this. Why it's like, who's that rapper guy? Kanye. It's like they just have to frame it that way. There's like some sneako guy was like black or Arab or something. He's being interviewed, and some Asian girl did the same phrase to him. And you look at him, it's like, why wouldn't you just have the guts to say it's a black supremacist talking point? Or can people be critical of non-white groups without having to frame it as somehow it's blonde man bad? And the left can't do that. And like I said, a lot of the right, in quotes, the Daily Wire types, which are not really the white, the white, as a Freudian slip. They're not white, but they're also not the right wing as well. They frame things in an anti-white viewpoint as well. So at one point, Elijah was going in a further right direction because I remembered on Twitter I had a little exchange with him a long time ago where he said he knew what was up and he was trying to do what he could behind the scenes. And at the time, I believed him. And then over the years, he backed away from going further in that right wing direction. Probably, because he looked at marriage and kids and he knew that it was going to be harder to make money if he really started to go to go down the rabbit hole into the matrix and all that kind of stuff. So he backed away from it. The thing is, using racial epithets and being politically incorrect or criticizing, hot groups, blacks, or Jews, or whoever, that doesn't make you left or right. It just makes you not politically correct. And another thing the normie right does, and a lot of stuff just drives me up the effing wall, is when they're given permission to go after a group, suddenly they'll do it and they pretend like, oh, we were based all along. We were going after the trans community the whole time, or the gay community. So the right wing, the normie right wing, the Milquetoast right wing has had permission to go after the trans group, which the thing is I go after them as well using slurs and epithets as often as I possibly can. But I'm not hypocritical about it because I go after everyone, every single group. And now they're given permission to put trans under a microscope, but then they'll use slurs for gays or for trans or for some other groups. And then, those of us who are not politically correct go, oh, okay, why don't you use these other slurs? Because your puppet masters told you some slurs are okay for the groups that they remove protection from. And the trans is now it's gloves off on the trans community. It's like, okay, fine. But that also means, why don't you have the balls to go after and use slurs and epithets for all these other groups? And suddenly they back down. But it's like you have to point out that kind of hypocrisy to them. And I'm not saying don't use slurs for one community. I'm saying use them for every community because, it's a lot of fun. And secondly, if you have an addiction issue, go get yourself an older copy of the Big Book of AA and read it. And that is like kind of your zero step to at least get into the first step. So the thing is, nobody looked at Elijah's alcoholically puffy face and thought, well, this is a trustworthy guy to take moral advice from. You look at him and something's going on behind the scenes. And people on the internet are not real. Almost all of them are self-absorbed scum who will do anything to grow their social media footprint. Real people are people you meet IRL. There's nothing wrong with liking people online, but that's only a brief presentation of them. Most people with big social media footprints are borderline personality disorder types. Enjoy them for the dancing monkeys that they are, but assume everything on the internet is a lie, whether it comes from your side or their side. And the Lugan Press media confuses political incorrectness and using slurs, and they have to fit it somehow into an anti-white box because the people who control the media just hate European people. Some Israeli commenter yesterday was blaming the white West in general for Epstein and Israel blackmailing politicians. And she said, this is a failing of the West. Like, Israel and Epstein have nothing to do. The West are the victims of people like Epstein. So even when a non-white person is politically incorrect or criticizes other non-whites, as some people do, the media has to frame them as doing the white god's work because that's the goal of the modern media, to be an anti-white hate machine. So no, Milo Fuentes, Schaefer are not far right because they don't hold far right views. And if you're in the media and you make these claims, then you're supposed to back them up with evidence, and they don't do that. They say things like, "Oh, well, it's commonly known." You go, "Where's the evidence for that?" And what they do is they do the circular bootstrapping thing, where somebody makes an unsubstantiated claim, and then they reference that, and they go, "Oh, well, it's commonly known." But okay, you're the media. You're not children anymore. You have to have evidence, and they don't. The media is not the media. The media hasn't been the media in like 30, 40 years, ever since the internet, which is at least, say, at least 25 years. So somebody like me is far right on many issues, but not all issues. And somebody like Fuentes he's mixed race and he's open about that. He's not an ethno-nationalist. He doesn't have ethno-nationalist talking points. He's a civic nationalist who's also got some like a Christian foundation. So he can't be far right when there's an entire political group that's further right than all three of these guys. And why am I talking about it? Somebody's going through a hard time. Schaefer, he's going to bounce back. He's going to be fine. Go to a 28-day program, get clean and sober, have a come to Jesus moment or a come to Odin moment, whatever you're into, and have like a real awakening and put your ego aside, and you'll come out the other side. Like, he's a social media personality. He's going to, like, this is a very serious hit, but he's not going to go. Sell insurance. He's going to come back to social media. It's what he's good at. He'll just hopefully comes back clean and sober. I'm tired of grifters who use religion, specifically here Christianity, as a shield, because I don't like people who take advantage of Christians who are trying to be nice and sometimes can be a little naive and gullible when social media people also have say they're Christians and they wear a cross, and it's like, yeah. Or the worst is when the e-girls have a conversion from being whores to suddenly being Christians, and like people take them on board. It's like, just give it a few years. Give it 5 years. Give it 5 years, and you don't have to. Don't judge them. Just sit back, don't engage with them for a few years. Let them. Oh, that's great. You converted. That's great. Come back to you in 10 years. Or people doing drugs and cheating while they talk about morals and values. Most people on the right are fine. The people, you and I, the normal people. It's just that these people who make videos are mostly degenerate alcoholics, as I point to this guy's image of a degenerate alcoholic. So what's a summary is Schaefer posted about being sober and getting divorced on his Twitter, but there's a ton of stuff you had to gather from his shows and social media, which I've listened to enough of him on and off over the years to get the vibe that he liked to party, which we all did before we got married and had kids, because it's supposed to stop once you get married, and it definitely has to stop before as soon as she gets pregnant. It's like, oh, okay, well, we're done drinking. If drinking's a problem and you can't cut it down, then you cut it out entirely. Like, we're done smoking cigarettes and done whatever pharmaceuticals you're using to party. It's like, usually when you get married, it's all part of settling down and being a good raising your kids right, so they don't see mom and dad doing blow on a glass table. A friend telling me that story. He's a little kid playing under glass tables, and the parents and the friends were doing lines off of it, and he's looking up. It's like, that's a bad influence, and alcohol is just as bad. Don't just because it's legal, it's oftentimes it's even worse. So the allegations are drug and alcohol abuse, which are probably accurate, judging from his own admissions. And he was cheating with the married Sarah Stock, and there's a recorded phone call. The problem is with AI now, there's just no way to prove it or provide the context, but it's probably in the direction of the truth. And allegedly she was having sex, and the thing is, all you got to do is ask her, except she closed down her Twitter account. And she is probably less likely to bounce back than Elijah Schaefer, because he's actually talented. He's going to go to 28 days and come out. He'll be divorced and he's going to suffer financially for a few years, but he is going to come back to social media. I don't know what she's going to do, because she wasn't the talent on her own. She was just skinny, and I was going to say a skinny hot blonde, but I guess it turns out she wasn't actually blonde. She dyed her hair. So allegedly she was having sex with the married Schaefer, and I don't know when he has kids. It's like it's like cheating on your boyfriend, girlfriend is kind of level one, and then cheating on somebody who one person is married is a whole different story. And then, like, does that person have kids? It's like, oh, okay, you how hard is it to just not give in to temptation like that? At least find somebody who's not married and doesn't have kids. And then she got engaged to her husband, and allegedly she cut off the relationship then, which is one thing, and that's, not so great for the new husband. I don't think they have kids yet, and they're probably going to get divorced as well. And the thing is, this is all their private business, except that's the point of private sexual business. You don't talk about it to other people, especially not on the phone. You have to assume everything you ever say is going to be recorded, is recorded. And if you're on the right and you're talking about politically incorrect things, assume everything you say or write is going to be read before a judge and jury. Every single thing on every platform. That's to our guys. And never in any capacity communicate with somebody like Milo Yiannopoulos, because once you see a scorpion, it's up to you to not be the frog to carry him across the river. Milo is a scorpion. He's been open about this for a long time. And she did some interview where she was on some podcast and she said she was a virgin. And then she also, like, she had a bunch of boyfriends, like 20 or 30 or something. The problem is a woman will leave a hotel room after having marathon sex to the point where she needs electrolytes, and then she'll give an interview about her trad Catholic life and about being a virgin while her boyfriend is still, dripping down her leg. Some things are kind of pointless to ask people because they are going to lie. And like I said, everything you see on the internet, assume it's a lie. You see her being interviewed on some podcast, okay, assume everyone in that room is lying. And a podcast like that is like, after a while, you realize, oh, these kind of normie Milquetoast podcasts, there's no point to listen to them at all. So she's like, what's she going to say in an interview where she's been interviewed like 6 years ago where she's 20 and she goes, oh, yeah. She was a cum dumpster for like 20 guys and then she found the guy she wants to marry. It's like there's no good way to answer that kind of question. The better option is just to get married as young as possible and stay a virgin until you get married. It's not the end of the world to do that. So getting money young and having an issue with drugs and alcohol is a recipe for disaster. It's look at every rock band that had those kind of issues. The best thing is to get clean, go to meetings, the 12 steps, whatever path to recovery you want to take, because part of the program is also getting your ego in check. And looking at somebody like Elijah Schaefer, and I remember that story, he was saying like he had some BMW in Florida and it wasn't in a garage and he's renting an apartment and like it wasn't adding up. He said he had a gun in the car. It's like you keep that on you. It's not just because it's expensive, but also because of the liability of you don't want somebody stealing it. But mainly it's like you're in Florida because of the population. It's very dangerous and it's you don't want $100,000 plus BMW in Florida where it's going to you want something like an electric car, as much as people don't like them, because it's almost impossible to steal those things, because you just have the car like drive itself back to you kind of thing. I think Teslas are pretty well impossible to steal because they have GPSs all over them, and like it's impossible to the point where they can't just, you get the idea. Having a BMW in essentially Mexico meets Cuba is going to be impossible. And that story of like he's renting an apartment, it like a lot of it didn't kind of add up, and then people point out now it's like, was he planning to do something to say like the gun was stolen or something weird like that? I don't know. The thing is, if you want to avoid trouble, just keep your wife pregnant and keep working, because if you have like 4 kids and you have a fifth kid on the way, you have way too much to lose to just go stick your dick in some whore with a wet spot. You do the stable things that work, even if you're not really religious. Things like go to church to join your community, have a bunch of kids, read, if you're into the Bible, read the Bible or Aristotle, any kind of philosophy that you can connect with. You have to stop doing cocaine and being addicted to sex, which is hard when you're in this position where he was a young social media influencer and he had a lot of money coming in and a lot of big projects. And so the thing is like they're going, oh, these right-wing MAGA women are whores. Yeah. Yes, the social media women, yes, they're whores. But the thing is, so are a lot of left-wing women. But it's just that most are so ugly that nobody will have sex with them. The cocaine MAGA influencer crowd, yes, the normal people are great. We are the normal, mostly moral people who don't cheat on our significant others, but people who make videos are degenerate alcoholics. And stimulants also plays a large, I say this as I rub my nose, but it's from allergies. They get together and they roll around in Viagra and cocaine. The worst people in the world make videos, and no, that doesn't include channels that are this small. People like me are normal people who are making videos in our spare time. These people are social media people. This is their life. They live under a lens. Channels under like 200,000K don't even exist on the radar. And we should have more normal people that make videos and less egotistical coke whores gazing at their reflection in the waters. That being said, before you judge Schaefer too harshly, we've all screwed up. A lot of us have had, chemical dependency issues, but we don't live under a 4K camera. They do. It's an entirely different. And a few years ago, a few generations, not generations, a few decades ago, you could do things, and it just wasn't under a social media lens. MySpace is only from 2006, so it's about 20 years ago. Wherein, if we're not big people, we just go to rehab and we get things back on track, and it's just not in the news. The pressure is different. When you're making money young, that's kind of one of it's a challenge to overcome. It's to say at some point you can go, oh, it is kind of the worst thing. I remember, and you have to decide. Remember, back in the 80s or 90s or something, Izzy Stradlin left GNR. He was a rhythm guitarist and singer, and he's good, but he left this band, which if they had stayed together, would have been just gone on to make hundreds of millions of dollars and been a huge, even bigger hit than they were. But he looked at it, and he looked at the drugs the band members were doing and the amount he was drinking and what he was doing. And he said, I'd rather be alive he bought a ranch in like Idaho or something and just wrote songs and rode his motorcycle around. It's like, if I stay with the band, I'm going to die. And then three of the other band members, had strokes and heart attacks, overdosed, and had serious problems. He goes, yeah, it's giving up being the biggest band in the world, but it's like it's guaranteed you die in 2 years from, heroin or alcohol or crack or something. It's like it's just not, just kind of not worth it. If you're in that situation, you get money young, you got to have a religious core or something to believe in. And the thing is, the reason I made this video is the part that bothered me is that these people are Christian on paper only to manipulate people, which it bugs me. It's the hypocrisy when you see these people wearing a cross while allegedly doing these things. And it's allegedly, you still deserve due process. People are jumping down on Sarah stock more than him for some reason, because I think people like to tear down the pretty girl. In this case, the pretty blonde girl who turns out to not actually be blonde. And the thing is, you look at her with her natural dark hair color, and it's like you wouldn't look at it. Your eyes would go right past her. She's nothing special. But by dyeing her hair blonde, it took her to the next level. She really does look better. But it's like, yeah, but it's also kind of a lie. Yeah, it is what it is. So someone said they wear Christianity like a skin suit, and then someone else, which the guy pissed me off enough to make the video. Someone said like, well, all Christians do. It's like, Reddit is that way, douchebag. That's the point of social media, is at a certain level, these people are mostly douchebags. Most normal Christians or right-wing people or conservatives are not. They're nice, nice normal people. For every social media self-absorbed twat, there's a million normal, based Christian, pagan, trad, nationalist, whatever. The influencers are the exceptions. They're like politicians. They're not ordinary people. The normal people are not even allowed on YouTube because wrong thinking certain buzzwords are haram. The MAGA influencers are mostly grifters, yeah. And there's a lot of drug-addicted, cheating, degenerate whores, yes, because they use Christianity as a shield, and that's what pisses me off, because naive, well-meaning people financially support them. And the nicest people are the so-called quote-unquote Nazis who are only allowed on alt platforms, Odyssey and Rumble and all the rest, because for them, the core value is the family, and by extension, the tribe, the race, the natal. And, half are Christian, half are pagans. But since drug use and cheating interferes with the cohesiveness of the family, those are looked down upon in the most seriously you could. They have to be verboten, because if your core dogma, your core kind of religion is your tribe, your race, if you're ethno-nationalist type, well, you have to respect the family, and you can't cheat because that hurts the family, and you also can't do the drink to excess or drugs that lead you to doing these other bad behaviors. It's like if you can drink normally or even use stuff normally, it's like, hey, knock yourself out. It's just when it becomes a problem, you got to cut it out. So Schaefer is going to bounce back from this because he's a broadcaster. Social media is what he's good at, and he is good at it. And I was thinking of Mundane Matt back in the day. He got his channel destroyed because of his own actions, because he was reporting other channels. But the thing is, Mundane Matt Jarbo is good at what he does. So he brought back another channel, like $2 movies or something, doing movie reviews, and he slowly built up another channel because it's like this is what he is legitimately good at it. And the thing is, Milo Yiannopoulos is a scumbag. It is weird that people even talk to him in any capacity. He will do anything to grow his social media footprint. You can't have dealings with a scorpion and then complain when the scorpion follows its nature. It is, I mean, just like looking at the dude in his super white teeth, and his flashy jacket. He looks like somebody out of Miami Vice who is like the guy's headed for a cocaine OD in a few years. That I'm not making it. He's just, I don't know if he's in anything like that. I'm just saying, if I look like that, I would be doing a mountain of cocaine without the gay sex. Anyway, like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys all next episode.